New tonight, an American tourist is dead following a shark attack on Green Key. What investigators are saying about the boating excursion she was on. Also, the Gambier home invasion that has investigators probing another deadly shooting. Plus, a 7-day ultimatum to government by the taxi cab union is up. How the union president is advising members moving forward. And later, the journey continues. Some differently able public servants getting their letters of appointment. Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. A Pennsylvanian mother is dead tonight after a shark attack at Green Key. Police telling us that the woman and her family who were visiting on a cruise ship took a boat tour excursion that later turned deadly. Bethany McDermott has the details tonight.
Police say that family vacation took a tragic turn after the 58-year-old woman was viciously attacked by a bull shark while snorkeling. This video making the rounds on social media of paramedics trying to assist the woman.
I need an IV and I need IV fluids right now.
Police press liaison officer Chief Superintendent Chrislyn Skippings providing these details on scene.
They booked a tour with a local company that took them to Green Key, about a half mile just northwest of Rose Island. The family was reportedly snorkeling in waters, and that area is known for visitors to snorkel. It is further reported that family members observed a bull shark attacking the female.
Skipping says the mother was bit in the upper body. Our News understands she and her family were passengers on board Royal Caribbean Cruise Line's Harmony of the Sea. The family, along with others, were on board Seas the Day shore excursion.
Operators from the boating company was able to rescue the female, brought her on board the tour company boat, and brought her here to the Montague ramp, which is the closest docking facility. EMS personnel responded, and they confirmed no vital signs of life at this time.
Now, family members visibly shaken by the incident and declined to comment.
At this time, I can say that that particular beach has been closed off for any type of snorkeling activities right now. And let me say that I am unable to say when and if it will be opened.
Officials from the Ministry of Tourism and RCL were on the scene this afternoon. Skipping says police have taken all the necessary steps in this matter.
Coast Guard has been informed as well. The U.S. Embassy has also been informed. Ministry of Tourism has also been informed. And so, as a law enforcement agency, we have done due diligence to ensure that all relevant persons are aware of what took place.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Thanks for that report, Bethany. A man is dead tonight following an attempted home invasion gone wrong. Police say the deadly incident unfolded on Douglas Road in Gambier Village. Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson addressing the media on the scene.
Sometime shortly after 2 a.m. this morning, police were called to this area where residents heard several gunshots. On checking at the rear of a residence in this area called Gambier Village, officers discovered the lifeless body of a male suffering from wounds consistent with gunshots.
He says the victim is a resident of the community.
He left his residence to check some noises that was coming from around his home when we believe he was accosted by a gunman who shot him several times about the body.
Now, police are appealing for anyone who may be able to assist with the investigation to contact Crime Stoppers at telephone number 328-TIPS. Meanwhile, a Supreme Court judge discharging a jury today hearing an assault with intent to rape case after refusing an application by the prosecution for the trial to continue in the defendant's absence. Kiko Green failed to return for his trial in the middle of a key prosecution witness's testimony. Justice Deborah Frazier now issued issuing a warrant for his arrest. Green is accused of sexually assaulting a woman while she was unconscious. The incident allegedly happened in a home on Eleuthera in December of 2019. The alleged victim recalled feeling dizzy and eventually passing out after she consumed alcohol drinks allegedly mixed by Green. She says she has no recollection of the alleged assault. However, another witness testifying that other people in the home had to lift the woman into bed. This witness claimed when she went to check on her, she met Green performing a sex act on her friend. A man on bail for murder has been sentenced to 6 months in prison for breaking his 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. 23-year-old Jason Lamb was released on a $30,000 bail 6 weeks after he was charged with the March 1, 2021 shooting death of Antonio Russell at Bernard Road. In addition to the curfew, the Jean Street resident was outfitted with an electronic monitoring device. Officials from Metro Security Solutions, the company responsible for monitoring suspects on bail, reported that Lamb had broken his curfew 5 times in the past 2 weeks. As a result, he was charged with violating the conditions of his bail. Lamb pled guilty to the charge at his arraignment before Magistrate Kendra Kelly. Attorney K. Melvin Monroe told the court that Lamb had a 1-month-old daughter who did not live with him and that his client made an error in judgment by spending some nights by his girlfriend and their newborn. However, the magistrate said that the terms of his bail were non-negotiable regardless of what was happening in his life. She said the girlfriend could have brought the infant to his home. Kelly said that bail was not to be taken lightly as persons on bail were being killed and in other cases they were committing additional offenses. A Goldwyn Resort and Residences issuing condolences to the family of one of their construction team members who allegedly committed suicide. On Saturday, police reported the victim was a German man in his 50s. In a press release issued today, the company said Goldwyn Resort and Residences can confirm the unfortunate loss of life with respect to one of our construction team members. First and foremost, our thoughts and condolences go out to his family at this very difficult time. The company also noting that since the matter is under active investigation by police, it would reserve any further comment. Now on Saturday, police said the victim was a construction worker on the site who had only been in the country for less than a month. He was reportedly found hanging by the straps on the 2nd floor of that building. More to get to in a moment, but now we check in with meteorologist Greg Thompson for your first look at temperatures. Greg?
Yeah, well, I don't know where these warm temperatures are going to go. It's been really warm for the last couple of evenings as temperatures remain in the mid to upper 80s. 86 outside our studios right now. Few clouds. We are going to call it warm temperatures. Temperature-wise, north to northeast winds at 7 miles per hour. Your feels-like temperature hanging around in the low 90s. Radar, a couple of isolated showers across the northwest Bahamas, Grand Bahama and the Abacos, as well as Bimini, seeing a few. And then on the backside of Andros and across the Great Bahama Bank, most of the activity is pulling out towards the west and should clear up for the rest of the evening. Cloud-wise, nothing really happening across us. High pressure in charge. Those high temperatures will continue at least tonight through tomorrow and possibly even into the weekend as we are going to continue to see some very sunny skies. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Thanks so much, Greg. And still to come on our news, immigration officials now processing 6 Cuban migrants after their apprehension on Ocean Key last night. And the status of that mass eviction and demolition of Dome City. Our news seeks answers. Plus, we've been following the journey of some differently able public servants. Find out the latest on their placements when our news returns.
What we're doing is we seem to be saying to 80% of the student population, you're really not good enough.
The PGCSE is a Bahamian exam. Your average is going to be around that high point, which is the D.
Schools are churning out 5,000 children a year that need jobs.
We're producing generations of Bahamians whose goal is to get out.
6 Cuban migrants were apprehended on Ocean Cay, Bimini last night. Police say officers on Ocean Cay were alerted to a wooden vessel spotting on Crew Beach on Ocean Cay around 10 last night. Once officers were dispatched to investigate. Police say they were met by Ocean Cay's head of security, who pointed out 4 men, a woman, and an infant. Police say a local doctor assessed the migrants, who determined they were in good health. They were all arrested and handed over to immigration officials for processing. For months, the Spring City Domes, which were set up as emergency housing in Abaco after Hurricane Dorian in 2019, have been in the spotlight. Most recently was the news that the Davis administration would be extending the deadline for a mass eviction and demolition of Dome City. Our Marlena Leonard sought answers on the issue from the housing minister and has this report.
Earlier in the summer, Housing and Transport Minister JoBeth Colby Davis announced the Spring City Domes would be demolished the day before the 3rd anniversary of Hurricane Dorian's landfall. But that did not happen. The deadline was then walked back last Wednesday at the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing, when current DRA Chairman Alex Storr shared the news that there was an extension on the Dome residents' deadline to evict the property. And when we asked him for clarification on the deadline extension, Storr said it wasn't up to him.
It may be up to sometime next week, but that is totally up to housing.
But when we asked the housing minister about the Dome extension, she also said the ball was in somebody else's court.
Not at the moment. I think that the DRA and social services are right now working together in Abaco. They have teams on the ground.
Our news reached out to Social Services Minister Obi Welchcomb, who says the DRA is leading the operation and would be best to respond. For her part, Colby Davis said she could not say more on the matter.
I don't have any further information on that.
The domes were constructed near Spring City, Abaco in October of 2019, and they were originally designed to house up to 1,000 displaced Hurricane Dorian victims. The then co-chair of Disaster and Reconstruction Committee, John Michael Clark, said at the time that the dome structures were chosen for their resilient structure, foreseeing that they may be needed for 3 years or more. Reporting for Our News, I'm Marlena Leonard.
Now, Minister of Immigration Keith Bell says the Davis administration is continuing to address a backlog of applications for naturalization.
Once the application is made, immigration will do its due diligence, and that due diligence is very, very lengthy at times, and unfortunately some persons' applications are left behind, and so that is added to the backlog. And given the nature and the extent of which they have to do their due diligence, this sometimes go on for more than a year, several years as a matter of fact.
The minister was unable to say how many applications are part of the backlog, but he did say that he would get back to the public on those figures. Meanwhile, he hopes the digitization and collaboration of ministries will help speed things up.
The integration of the different government agencies, it is really helping us, and so we anticipate that we will continue to eat away at the backlog as well as deal with the current applications as well, so that it doesn't add to the backlog.
The Bahamas Taxi Cab Union taking matters into its own hands after giving government a 7-day ultimatum to respond to their fare increase proposal. Our Berthany McDermott has this update.
14 days after he gave government 7 days to respond to their request for a fare increase, Taxi Cab Union President Wesley Ferguson isn't backing down.
When and if you get a taxi fare in your car, make it count, because the bills are going to come like mountains. They're going to come in like waves. So make sure when taxi drivers cannot continue to operate at a loss.
The Taxi Cab Union is pushing for a 30% fare increase. In July, Ferguson told reporters that Transport Minister JoBeth Colby Davis seemed receptive to the proposal. However, he said conversations with the minister have fallen off. In July, taxi plates were issued to locals, but Ferguson is saying this alone doesn't resolve their issues.
It's like getting a new house. That's exciting to get a new house. But when it's time to pay the mortgage, that's a different scene. That's 35 years. So getting taxi plates alone does not take care of the issues in the taxi industry when it comes to their financial struggles.
Well, we put the issue to Colby Davis ahead of this week's cabinet meeting, and here's what she had to say.
The legislation speaks to how fares are increased. That is not a task that I can take on my own. I have to be guided by the Cabinet of the Bahamas, and I've been speaking with them. Of course, everyone understands that we're in an inflation situation and we have to be cautious, and so I think there's a lot of discussion happening right now so that we can balance it.
She says Cabinet is also focused on the tourism product.
To ensure that our tourism product is still being effective, we can't hike so many prices at once.
Now, the minister's comments not sitting well with with the union president, who had this to say in response.
Just have a long, drawn-out case in cabinet. This one is on the back burner, I guess, at cabinet.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news comes back from the break, harvests are up as poaching is down. The top marine resources official talks about this year's crawfish season. And Marcellus joins us after the break for your check on sports. Marcellus?
Coming up in sports for you tonight, the UB Mingos ladies softball team, they're rounding into good shape, picking up a big win against the defending champions. We'll also tell you about our archery team as they're looking to make some noise at the CAC qualification. That's all coming up in sports.
Thanks, Marcellus. And later, the journey to job security for some differently able public servants. We've got their story when our news returns.
What we're doing is we seem to be saying to 80% of the student population, you're really not good enough.
The PGCSE is a Bahamian exam. Your average is going to be around that high point, which is the D.
Schools are churning out 5,000 children a year that need jobs.
We're producing generations of Bahamians whose goal is to get out.
This is our news. Welcome back. Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson confirming today that classes at C.C. Sweeting Senior High School have been dismissed early for the last few days due to electrical issues. When our news team visited the school on Tuesday morning, students could be seen on the outside of the school being picked up. Teachers were also on the campus meeting with the principal. While the principal declined to comment, Wilson sharing this.
And so we're hoping that the Ministry of Education would speak or liaise with BPL to get a full assessment as to when the problem is going to be corrected.
She says she hopes the issues will be rectified soon.
The teachers are upset because it's just the second week of school and they're having a lot of interruptions. And so they're starting on, they have a bumpy start and they really want to get in there and begin teaching.
Just over a month into this year's crawfish season, and the top agriculture and marine resources official is saying illegal poaching is down and harvests are up. On average, officials say 3.5 million pounds of crawfish is harvested during the season. Agriculture and Marine Resources Minister Clay Sweeting.
For the most part, we've had some minor poaching incidences, but for the most part, it's been pretty good. I can say that this season seems to be very, very nice in regards to the amount of lobster. There seems to be a challenge with pricing compared to last year with market challenges, so the price is significantly lower. However, the catch seems to be up, so we hope that it balances out.
The UB Mingo softball team pull off a big upset. Meanwhile, our archery national team looks to qualify for CAC. Marcellus Hall joins us now with sports.
All right, thanks a lot, Natalia. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The UB Mingos ladies softball team, they've had their dog days. Lately, though, things are turning around, and that program is starting to round into good form. In fact, pulling off a huge upset against the defending champions just recently. Let's take a look.
NPSA action over the weekend, and the UB women's ladies softball team pulling off a huge upset over the NPSA defending champion Sunshine Auto Wildcats. Heading into the fifth and final inning, it was the Mingos down 9-7 with 2 out and runners on first and second. Adonia Rhymes with Tanya Roll at the plate Full count connects and the ball passes the first baseman on the throw. Mingos take advantage of the error as the game officially ends at 10-9, but Roll still took a victory skip to home. Mona Hanna gets the win for the Mingos on the mound, but it was a clutch connection by Roll to get them the win.
A good win for the team. I wish, when I told the ladies, I wish they heard what the other coach said when I made a pitching change. So, the starting pitcher was doing a pretty good job, and our defense is what was letting us down. And that's something that I have been preaching for the past few games now, where we've been right in games, but errors, mistakes, forcing us to give up runs that we shouldn't. Beating the number one team, it's something that I believe and I know that we can do on a consistent basis. We have quite a number of young ladies on the team. It's just a matter of everybody buying in.
Meanwhile, our national archery team is now safely in place as they get set to attend the CAC qualifications.
And that is your Liquid Sports here on this Tuesday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Italia.
Still ahead on our news tonight, the story we promised you about some differently able public servants all set up to take their new posts. And Greg is back in the weather center, still tracking the tropics. What are we seeing, Greg?
Yes, Italia, we're still watching Tropical Storm Earl, which is just north of Puerto Rico. We also have Hurricane Daniel well out there in the northern Atlantic. And then we're starting to see a couple more active tropical waves coming off of Africa. The National Hurricane Center will continue to monitor those. We'll tell you more about that in an extended forecast.
Thanks, Greg. We'll see you in a bit. Don't go away. Our news continues in a moment.
What we're doing is we seem to be saying to 80% of the student population, you're really not good enough.
The PGCSE is a Bahamian exam. Your average is going to be around that high point, which is the D.
Schools are churning out 5,000 children a year that need jobs.
We're producing generations of Bahamians whose goal is to get out.
Welcome back to our news. We are keeping an eye on the tropics with meteorologist Greg Thompson, who's standing by in the Weather Center with the latest. Hello again, Greg.
Yes, Italia, we are quiet across our area, but we are still watching Earl, which is still a tropical storm, still churning out there just to the north of Puerto Rico with a trailing rain band across Puerto Rico and the northern Virgin Islands. That system will continue to move towards the northwest eventually, and then making a northerly turn over the next 24 to 36 hours. And that's going to continue to be that pattern. Of course, we still have Hurricane Daniel well out there in the northern Atlantic. Not really a threat to anybody. We are watching another area just west of the Cape Verde Islands. Has about a high percentage chance for formation. And then we're watching a couple more tropical waves that are coming off the African coast. This is how Earl is going to be shaping up over the next couple of days. By Wednesday, tomorrow, we expect Earl to strengthen even further, possibly likely making it to a Category 1 hurricane. And as it gets its act together, it's going to continue to strengthen as it pulls towards the east of Bermuda, and possibly even making it to a major hurricane, Category 3, as it continues to pull out towards the north and northeast into the open Atlantic. The main concern for us here in the Bahamas are going to be the swells that will be generated by the system, so we're asking boaters and beachgoers to exercise extreme caution out there for the next couple of days. This is a satellite picture of what Earl is doing out there. Convection waning and then re-strengthening. As I mentioned, a trailing trough across Puerto Rico and San Juan, generating a couple isolated showers, and it will continue to pull out towards the north eventually. Daniel is still a hurricane that's going to be moving towards the northeast over the next couple of days, but by the weekend we expect it to be a remnant low, and as I mentioned, not really a threat to anybody at this time. Boating forecast, as I mentioned, a little bit of a concern for us for the swells. North to northeast winds, it will be 5 to 10 knots, falling light and variable at times. Seas 1 to 3 feet, but up to 6 to maybe even 7 feet with some swells along Atlantic coastlines. Your low tide will be at 11:42 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look at your extended forecast over the next couple of days. Quiet weather. It's going to be very hot. And of course, that ridge of high pressure will remain in charge, but those swells will continue to affect the islands. And once again, we're asking you boaters and beachgoers to be mindful of that. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody.
Thanks so much for that weather report, Greg. Now, our news has been following the journey of this year's cohort of the Public Services Professional Engagement Program, also known as PSPEP, ever since it was announced earlier this summer. And now, weeks after the State Minister for the Public Service, Pia Glover-Roll, announced the inclusion of a differently able participants in the public sector, we have since learned that they are all set to get their placement letters.
The first cohort of the orientation happened last week. There was about 250 participants that came through, some of them being persons with disabilities. This week they're being placed in their various positions, whether that's with government ministries or the private sector, setting them up on career paths that match their qualifications and their skill sets.
For more stories like this and all of today's top stories, be sure to visit Our News Bahamas on Facebook. With that, we thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.